In a grand kingdom, there lived a beautiful princess who loved to play in the royal gardens. Her favorite toy was a sparkling golden ball, gifted by her father, the king. Every day, she would run to the edge of a crystal-clear pond, tossing her golden ball high into the air and catching it joyfully. One bright afternoon, as the birds chirped and the sun shone warmly, the princess threw her ball a little too high. She stretched her hands to catch it, but it slipped through her fingers. The golden ball bounced on the grass and rolled straight into the pond with a soft plop. The princess gasped and rushed to the water's edge. She leaned over, hoping to see the ball, but the water was deep, and it had already sunk out of sight. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized she might never get her beloved ball back. Just as the princess wiped away a tear, she heard a strange croaking voice. "Why are you crying, dear princess?" Startled, she looked around but saw no one. Then, with a loud splash, a small green frog emerged from the water, sitting on a lily pad. He blinked his big round eyes at her and tilted his head curiously. The princess sniffled and pointed to the pond. "My golden ball fell into the water, and I can't reach it." The frog nodded. "I can fetch it for you, but what will you give me in return?" The princess frowned. "Anything you want. Gold, jewels, a royal feast, just bring my ball back." But the frog shook his head. "I do not want riches. I only ask that you be my friend, let me eat with you at the castle and sleep on a soft pillow beside you." The princess wrinkled her nose at the thought of a slimy frog in her palace. But she was desperate, so she quickly agreed, thinking, "He's just a frog. He won't really come to the castle." True to his word, the frog dove into the water and, after a few moments, emerged with the golden ball in his mouth. The princess clapped her hands in delight and quickly grabbed it. Without another glance at the frog, she turned and ran back to the castle. That evening, as the princess dined with her family, a loud thud echoed at the palace doors. A servant opened them, and there sat the little green frog. "Princess, have you forgotten your promise?" he croaked. The princess gasped, her face turning red. She had hoped the frog wouldn't follow her. The king, noticing her hesitation, asked what was going on. When she reluctantly explained the story, he nodded sternly. "A promise must be kept, my dear. Let him in." Unwillingly, the princess let the frog hop onto the royal dining table. As the meal went on, he slurped from her golden plate and sipped from her jeweled goblet. The princess cringed with every bite he took. After dinner, the princess hoped the frog would leave, but he looked up at her expectantly. "Now, princess, you must let me sleep on your soft pillow as you promise." The princess groaned in frustration but saw her father's stern gaze. Reluctantly, she picked up the little frog and carried him to her room. She placed him on a tiny cushion in a corner, hoping he'd be satisfied. "That's not what we agreed," the frog reminded her. Grumbling, she finally placed him on her silk pillow beside her. But as soon as she did, something magical happened. A bright golden light surrounded the frog, and he began to change. His small green body stretched, his webbed feet transformed, and before the princess's astonished eyes, a handsome prince stood before her. The prince smiled warmly at the astonished princess. "Thank you, dear princess. I was cursed by a wicked witch and could only return to my true form if a kind heart treated me as an equal." The princess, realizing how unfairly she had treated him, felt ashamed. She apologized and, over time, they became great friends. The king, delighted by the prince's noble heart, invited him to stay in the castle. The princess and the prince spent their days exploring the gardens, talking and laughing together. Eventually, their friendship blossomed into love, and they were married in a grand celebration. The curse was broken forever, and the kingdom rejoiced. The princess had learned an important lesson: kindness and keeping one's promises always lead to happiness. And so, they lived happily ever after. Moral of the story: true worth is found in kindness, not appearances.
Please like and subscribe my channel for more such stories.